All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. Welcome to today's webinar. It's Sonia here from Hunt and Hawk. We specialize in marketing strategy for B2B professional services and tech scale ups. I'm super excited about this session on social selling today. I will introduce you to our host, who will be like a bull out of the gates very soon. But before we kick off, some housekeeping. We've got hundreds of you on today's call. I'd love to make sure that you can actually hear us and everything's working well. So if you can please go to the chat box and just type, "Hi, I'm Bob from Brisbane," or wherever you are. We just want to see who's on the call and make sure that everything's going as planned. And it's great to see a mix of familiar and new faces. So hello to you all. Now, in a moment, I'll introduce you to Vinny. As mentioned, this guy called me at 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning. We talked about LinkedIn for a good hour. He is super knowledgeable, super passionate, and I guess I'm equally guilty. I willingly stayed on the call. So you're in great hands today, but the man of the hour, the newest addition to the Hunt and Hawk team, our growth partner, Vinny Romano. Welcome, Vinny.
Thanks, Sonia. I do enjoy our Sunday morning talks about LinkedIn. What to do, what not to do. Yeah. Thanks very much.
That's awesome. And no doubt everyone, go on.
No, go on.
Yeah, great to have you on the call, and great to see everyone's responses coming through too. We've got people in Brisbane, people in Melbourne, people in Sydney, Manish from Melbourne, some familiar faces, lots of clients, lots of new people. This is going to be super exciting. Now, Vinny, you're a demand generation specialist, you're a content marketing enthusiast, you're a social selling evangelist. I know that you've worked very closely with our friends at LinkedIn. You've been on countless panels discussing the topic of the hour, which is social selling today. And I think we're all just super keen to get stuck into it. I think that's enough from me. Very warm welcome, Vinny, and I will leave you in his great hands.
Thanks, Sonia. Great energy. Love that. Thanks so much. And thanks to everyone for joining. Great to have you all here. Some people from all over the world. Really, really excited to have you. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about social selling, the social selling strategy, and why this could be the missing link to your lead generation. Before I do get into that, just some further housekeeping. So Q&A. I expect this to last approximately 45 minutes. Leaving 15 minutes for questions at the end. If I don't get to your question, I will reach out to you with the answer post-webinar. I'll email you directly with an answer. But if you do have any questions, put them in the chat box, and Sonia will come back in at the end to ask me those questions from the audience. Throughout, you're going to see some poll questions popping up at certain parts. We're doing this to gather data about your current understanding of LinkedIn, the concept of social selling, what's the lay of the land with your personal journey, with a view to making these webinars better. This is the first of many, and I really want to optimize this and be able to communicate that back to the audience. If you'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn, you can do so here, which should be going into the chat box now. If you'd like to reach out to me via email, my email address should also be appearing in the chat box now. And no need to take notes. You will receive the slides and the recording of this webinar session straight after the session via email. So sit back, relax, put your feet up, crack open a beer or have your water or your coffee or wherever in the world you are, whatever's appropriate, strap yourselves in because let's get into it.
Awesome. Leave you to it.
Thanks, Sonia. So I want to start off by talking about social selling as a concept to begin with. Social selling is a concept that's actually been around for thousands of years. Some people think that it's the concept of selling through social media. That's not technically incorrect, but it's actually the notion of selling through reputation. Someone who has an authority on a topic that people listen to has influence, and their influence is based on trust. I have used that product. I think you'll like it. Does that sound familiar? You're more likely to go and buy that product or buy that service from someone that you trust, right? So social selling can arguably be otherwise known as word of mouth marketing, which in the game of advertising is the holy grail. This is where your customers love or hate your product or service, so much so that they become your marketers. If used correctly, social selling techniques can be the linchpin between sales and marketing alignment. And when you align these two things, this can be the reason why demand is generated, in other words, success, or the reason why your business doesn't grow, which could be a failure, whether you're a large or a small organization. So let's just take a zoomed out view for a second and think about what's happening outside of social selling. Effectively, the internet's cleaning up its act. Internet browsers are removing third-party cookies by the end of 2022. CRMs and marketing automation platforms globally are rolling in GDPR, global data protection, they're rolling in GDPR restrictions into their actual systems, meaning that you will no longer be able to communicate with anyone that hasn't given you consent. Where that's being heavily enforced in Europe right now, not so much in Asia Pacific, where we are, the platforms themselves have got those GDPR restrictions now baked in. So it's going to get even more difficult to be taking shortcuts when reaching your audience. And then Google's aim to make the internet serve the customer with good quality, authentic content for all. So back in the day, you'd be able to purchase your way onto the front page, which you can still do now, but it's becoming even more relevant that anyone that does pay for those placements up on the first page, the top 3 are listed as ads. And if you're anything like me, whenever you search for the answer to a problem that you have or a question that you have, and you see the top 3 placements that have ad next to it, you'll scroll past them out of spite. You don't want to give that company money, right? The way in which you get onto the front page is by delivering good quality content that resonates with the audience that you're trying to talk to, the people that are asking the questions that you may have answers to. So with all these 3 things in mind, now is the time to be thinking about how your business can be educating and adding value to your audience, which will ultimately influence their decisions through your reputation, both as a business, but more importantly, as a person. Why as a person? Because people buy from people. We say this all the time, right? But more often than not, we go into autopilot. People buy from people. We live in an age where we can use social media to leverage our digital profiles and our networks to reach the audience that we want. If we think about the bigger picture, social selling can play a huge part of your business's overall content marketing strategy, right? So now is the time to be engaging and empowering your team to stay top of mind more often by thinking about it not just from a business perspective, but how you as an individual can be leveraging your network, leading with value, leading with education, and talking to your audience in a personalized way. How? In a word, trust. I'm going to throw some stats at you. As consumers ourselves, we are bombarded with thousands of ads every single day, most of which are poor quality with little to no customization to us. Some stats: 54% of people trust a regular employee more than a CEO. 68% of people trust a company technical expert. And 90% of business decision makers don't react to cold calls. To cut through, we must be thinking about engaging earlier on in the decision-making process on a person-to-person level, building relationships one letter at a time. If you took the sort of en masse approach that a lot of businesses take at the moment, zero personalization, copying and pasting, and you were to apply that to a friendship, a personal relationship of some description, you wouldn't have any friends, you wouldn't get into any relationships. It doesn't work that way. It's the same in business. We have to be building relationships, and they are based on the foundation of trust. Zig Ziglar has famously quipped, if people like you, they'll listen. If they trust you, they'll buy. So what are we going to use? LinkedIn's a very powerful platform. Let me tell you about it. It's a social media platform. No denying it. But it's got a difference. It's the only one of its kind that ties individuals to their place of work, i.e. where they make their living, where they get their money from, right? So people are therefore more conscious of their business profile on this platform. People are, depending on the size of your organization, there are, parameters within which you can play. The majority of people don't actually post on LinkedIn through things such as, oh, I don't know what to say, or I don't know if my company will approve of that. So the majority of people don't do anything. But it's because of this consciousness of their business profile. It has that unspoken tone of voice that you bring when you do post or when you do engage within the platform. As such, LinkedIn has earned the crown of the most trusted platform, which needs to do little to eradicate hate speech or bullying. And as it's also marketed as the platform to find or list jobs, along with being a place to meet people to do business with, it's no surprise that the unspoken rule has been to keep up that professionalism. The fact is, though, is that it is still a social media platform. Some people refer to it as Facebook with long trousers. That's my favorite version of it. But it's a social media platform that, unlike the others, it rewards progress in business. It's a place where professionals can continue to consume or contribute to the wider body of public knowledge. It isn't where people go to binge content. People don't go on LinkedIn to look for videos of cats and dogs to procrastinate to pass the time. It's where professionals go to enrich their lives with an intent-driven mindset. We arrive here with the intent to learn. It isn't just a Rolodex, or for those that don't know what a Rolodex is, a contact book. It's not just your contact book. It's where your insights-driven, it's where your insights-driven, engaged network come to consume this content or come to share that content. We come to hear, connect, and communicate with thought leaders to inspire ourselves. It isn't just a job board. It's your gateway to finding mutual connections. You can get introduced to people you otherwise wouldn't have access to here. Authoritarians and leaders in an environment where we know business mindsets are in action. And it isn't just your online CV. It's the foundation of your personal brand. Big Jeff Bezos from Amazon, says it best. Your personal brand is what others say about you when you're not in the room. And it's LinkedIn where you can manage that dialogue. So I want to talk to you about some trust basics. Do these basics and set yourself up for success by achieving what LinkedIn calls all-star status. I'm going to rattle through these pretty quickly. Make sure you have a clean, clear profile picture. Head, shoulders. We don't need topless selfies in the mirror. It's not that kind of platform, right? If you are going to do one. You've got a camera in your pocket. There's no excuse as to why you shouldn't have a clear, clean profile picture in 2021. People trust people who have one more. How many times do you get friend requests, LinkedIn requests from people that don't have a profile picture? Your trust barometer goes down instantly, right? Think about it. Next is your headline and your bio. So the headline is the little strap line underneath your name on your LinkedIn profile, and then your About Me section. Both are very rich placements of real estate. They're searchable in search engines. So you want to make sure that you use this space wisely, remembering character limits and where your profile gets found. In certain areas of LinkedIn, you've got different places where your profile can be found. You've got to take those into account, because you don't want to miss out on an opportunity all because your headline's too long and it's actually got an ellipsis, 3 dots. You don't want an ellipsis to get in the way of you making an impact. Add relevant and non-relevant, if you so wish, previous positions and affiliations to organizations that you volunteer for, making sure all the logos are visible. The reason for that is that makes your profile even more searchable. If you align yourself with an organization, company that you used to work for, that you currently work for, or a charitable organization in your volunteer section, make sure that you are finding the right company page so that the logo appears. Otherwise, there's no point in it being on there from a search perspective. Gain and give endorsements and recommendations. This shows that you're human and people are looking for this. If there is a potential prospect that's interested in talking to you, setting a meeting, people look at what it is that not only people say about you, but what it is that you say about other people. People can get an instantaneous understanding as to how you talk and communicate and how you put other people forward. Lastly, check your social selling index score, or your SSI score. The higher your SSI score, the higher your reach. You want to be getting it to above the 70 mark, to be achieving around 30 to 40 to 50% more engagement, more reach on the things that you start to post about. It's good to check this before you start getting involved in LinkedIn and start posting, so you can just kind of set a little bit of a before and after picture. And you can measure how well you're progressing. You can do that here. You should see that link in the chat box now. And you can check your own SSI score for your own profile for free. Before you start posting, so you've got your own profile humming a little bit, right? You're setting yourself up for success, getting closer to that all-star status, checking your SSI score. Now it's time to put some foundations down before you start posting to really get all those cylinders firing. So start off with hashtags that you want to follow. You've done a little bit of work on your personal brand by doing the previous steps, your About Me, your headline, the organizations that you're with, right? A little bit of your personal brand is down. Now start following relevant hashtags and view the content regularly for content curation suggestions. You can start to see this content being pulled into your newsfeed by the hashtags that you follow. It's worth noting how many followers each hashtag does have. We'll get into that a little bit later. Next, do some research on the audience that you want to communicate with. So do some research on who you want to talk to ensure that you're going to be talking about what resonates with them first. You got your personal brand. You need to identify who it is that you want to be communicating with. It will be here that you can determine if you need more people in your network that fit the profile that you want to talk to. So you can do a little bit of a scrape on your SSI score and understand who is it that you've got in your network, and if you need to ramp that up a little bit more, tailor make it to the people that you want to be talking to. That's not to say you can't add your mum and your dad. That's not to say you can't add your family members. It's not what I'm saying. But if you're going to start creating content through the lens of social selling, you want to make sure that you've got a first-degree audience network who are going to be seeing it, have a higher chance of seeing it. Once you've got your audience down, think about the hashtags that your audience follows and start following them. So you can stay on top of what your audience is seeing and or wants to see. You can use this as part of your curation strategy. So too often, if I know who it is that I'm talking to and I'm following hashtags that I know that they're wanting to follow or that they're already following, I might get there first by seeing a piece of content or an article or a post by someone that's relevant, a bit of a thought leader and an authoritarian in the space. And I can flick that particular article, that post, to said prospect. Hey, remember we were talking about this just the other day? You might find this interesting. Content creation. If you have a team creating content for your business or for yourself, lucky you, number one, get involved and put your name to some of it, right? This can be part of your content strategy that you have a point of view on or an opinion on, right? Are you creating ebooks? Are you creating white papers? Try and find those big bulky pieces of content that is relevant to your audience, that resonates with you as a person. Put your own flavor to it and use that content as shorter versions to drive traffic to that downloadable piece or that accessible piece on your company blog. This will start to give you some unique content ideas to start planning out in line with your company's content plan. The next thing is scheduling your posts. So some people have Hootsuite, some people just don't manage this process at all. It's completely down to you. But if you want to start getting on top of it and bringing your own personal flavor to your own content, we all use our calendar. And in fact, I think that back in 2017, so it's a while ago, but the second most opened app on smartphones, across all smartphones, is the calendar app. And you can be using your own calendar, right, to schedule your posts. Schedule the times in your diary on a recurring basis to remind you to post. As you get better at it, you can reduce the amount of time that you take up in your day from whether it's an hour down to half an hour, down to 15 minutes. And you can preload the content or the type of theme or the thing that you want to be talking about. You can do a whole session at the end of the month with all the imagery that you want to be planning out. I don't know how, serious you want to get into that side of things just yet. But if you start to get into the habit of scheduling your own posts, you'll have more of a chance of actually doing it because it will remind you. And as 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks goes by, your meetings will start to dwindle, but you'll have those recurring meetings in your diary, which means that you can then start planning your meetings around, oh, actually, no, I've got to save time for my posting. Always remembering, though, that when you do go to post, you must finalize it in your tone of voice. And then optimizing organic reach. So the recent research shows that posting between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. local time on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, yes, Saturdays, is for optimum organic reach. Only post once a day. The more times you post, the more your traffic or potential traffic or views, eyeballs, get split across the number of posts in a 24-hour period. So focus on only posting once a day, unless you're famous and unless you've got a massive following, different time zones around the world. For the regular Joe Schmoes like me, post once a day. You'll get optimized organic reach for it. Okay, so once you've got your foundations in place, it's time to start posting. But it's worth noting that when you post, LinkedIn's algorithm will share it with a test segment of your first degree network initially. So this is why it's important to make sure that you've done the audience research a little bit and you've started to populate a first degree network of the audience that you want to be talking to. Because if you're creating content for that audience and it doesn't resonate with them, your content, no matter if you follow all the rules beforehand, it's not going to turn into money because you're putting the wrong content out in front of the wrong people, obviously, right? So LinkedIn's algorithm will share it with a test segment on your first degree network initially. This segment's reactions determines on how many views you'll end up receiving. If they engage, you will soar. If not, You won't. These following points should help you increase those chances of the test segment engagement. So add value. Focus everything you do on LinkedIn to be adding value through the lens of selflessness. Don't just advertise, it doesn't work. You've got to think about your audience here. Add value, educate, add value. Create high quality content. High quality content formats need to be created. Where polls have astronomical reach right now, presentation deck slides where you're giving away information and adding to the wider body of public knowledge will garner good viewership. So after this, to practice what I preach, I'm going to be turning this slide deck into a slide deck presentation on LinkedIn as a post. Meet your audience. The timing of the post is key to capture your audience at a time when more are likely to be online. The newly reported days, as mentioned, are Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. local time, no matter where you are in the world. Give to get. If you're engaging on other people's content, you're more likely to have them engage with yours. First, second, and/or third degree connections will be sharing, viewing, seeing your content if you go to them first. A great way to get started is going back to the hashtags that you want to follow, either ones that you resonate with or the ones that your audience resonates with, right? So start engaging with first, second degree connections content, share your genuine thoughts, and get in front of that wider network. Final point, posting en masse. Some of you may already started posting. Some of you may already have some content marketing strategy in place. Some of you may have already started automating some of this. Whatever you do though, don't copy and paste your content from one profile across another, a number of people within your organization. It's wasted effort and you won't get the viewership your content deserves. It's about quality, not quantity. It's not about copying and pasting. It's about personalizing to you. If your audience sniffs that it looks like that it might be automated and that you might be just a team of bots, they're going to see it as an opportunistic approach. Add value, personalize it, create high quality content, meet your audience, and give to get. Having said all of this and taking all of that into consideration, there's only really two things that you need to do in totality. Be consistent, so always show up. Michael Jordan, greatest of all time. How hard did he work? More than anyone else, arguably. How much natural talent did he have? Arguably more than anyone else. What would have happened if he didn't work harder than anyone else? No one would know his name, right? And be yourself. Talk about what you know. Lean into that. That's the epitome of working smarter, not harder. Because what you know will come to you more naturally, and you're more likely to have a unique perspective, which will catapult you into becoming a thought leader. Thought leadership is all around subject matter expert. I know this. I have a unique perspective. How can we be a change agent? An agent for change. And then all you need is the platform. So be consistent, show up, be yourself, lean into what it is that you know, and you will soar. Okay, so some more stats. In 2020, there were 684 million active users on LinkedIn, with a lower percentage of people actively posting weekly than in 2021. This year, 2021, there are now 774 million active users on LinkedIn. But only 4.9% actively post weekly, meaning that 91.5% of all active users in 2021 are merely spectating. However, it has been reported that all members have lost 20% of overall reach since last year. But if you go back to the 774 million users on LinkedIn. 91.5% are merely spectating. This is unconfirmed. This next point is unconfirmed, but this could be the reason why there's so much opportunity for organic reach should you strategically engage with the platform. But this final point of due to the uplift of active users in LinkedIn over the course of 12 months could be the reason why we've seen a reduction of 20% in overall reach since last year. More people coming on board to the platform, actively posting, more people, reach gets reduced. But it could be the reason why there's so much opportunity for organic reach should you engage within the platform. But what this goes to show is that that won't be forever. So social selling can enable you. I'm going to take you through from a salesperson's perspective. So if you're a salesperson or in a customer-facing role, some of these stats might interest you. Social selling leaders create 45% more opportunities than salespeople who don't actively use social selling. From a salesperson's perspective, you're 51% more likely to hit your quota by using social selling, and you're 78% more likely to outsell your peers who don't use social media for sales activity. In other words, you'll increase positive sentiment towards your business, customer base, revenue, and personal income. And if that's not enough, or if you're not in a customer-facing role, people who use social selling techniques are able to increase their own profile, their own online profile, connect with a greater number of people, and increase prospects of what your next role could be. I'm not saying that you should be using this to necessarily just go and find work, but the same techniques can be used to keep those prospects on ice and keep those dialogues happening. From a customer's perspective, Gartner and McKinsey both report on the following. From a customer's perspective on self-education, among B2B buyers, their researching of their own solutions continues to gain steam, more so post-pandemic. 83% of typical B2B purchasing decisions happen before a buyer engages directly with a provider. The in-person one-to-one sales model is fading away. B2B sales reps have roughly 5% of customers' time during their entire B2B buying journey. And more decisions are being made digitally. Up to 80% of B2B decision makers actually prefer it that way. From a thought leadership perspective, the 2021 LinkedIn Edelman B2B Thought Leadership Impact Study shows that decision makers are still consuming content, if not more, post-pandemic. 54% of business decision makers say they spend more than 1 hour per week reading and reviewing thought leadership content. 51% of C-level execs say they spend more time doing so than before the pandemic began. But while consumption is up, satisfaction isn't. 71% of decision makers say that less than half of the content that they see gives them any sort of valuable insights. To conclude that, effectively, your audience is looking. Once you've identified them, they're looking, but they're not finding. So there's an opportunity through social selling here. And you might be thinking, sure, Vin, I get all this, right? I'd love to be able to tailor my social selling tactics, but I have a business to run and it doesn't sound that scalable. I'll use the 1950s TV infomercial phrase. But wait, there's more. You can scale this strategy via automation, but you want to find the balance and have a strategy, right? My final thought is that we should be automating where we can, but humanizing where we must. In business, like I said before, we're starting and building relationships. No one wants to marry a robot. But there are areas in your strategy and execution that can be automated to make it scalable. Social selling works best if it's as part of an overarching content marketing strategy, and when you lead with education and value first. Take a look at some of the responses that Sonia, who you met earlier, has been receiving by reaching out personally to individuals in her network about this webinar specifically. The content around the webinar and the promotion of the webinar gives her something of value to lead with, and meetings are going in the diary. I want this for you too. Hunt and Hawk takes this approach when we're looking at your lead generation. There's 3 top benefits. You can increase your personal brand and awareness and reach, generate high quality inquiries while you sleep, because it's all done for you with a unique approach to personable social selling. If you'd like, we can set up a chat. I look forward to speaking with you. I managed to get through that pretty quickly. Sonia.
That was awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Vinny.
No problem.
You guys saw my profile up, my chat profile up there. LinkedIn is something that we use every day. It's been really instrumental in helping us grow our business. Leveraging that reputational selling on our favorite platform is just, it needs to be part of what you do as your strategy. So without going too much and digressing, we actually do have a few questions. So if there's any more, feel free to send them through, but let's answer some of these. So we've got Craig saying, is social selling only suitable for B2B?
Is social selling only what, sorry?
Only suitable for business to business, B2B.
So there could be an argument to suggest that it does work for B2C as well. But what I would raise here is there's a difference between B2C and B2B, right? B2C is very impulse purchase. The cost of sale is lower. If you're selling laundry detergent off the shelves of Coles, for example, you're not really needing to use social media at a one-to-one level, right, to facilitate that sale. So if we look at it through the lens of social selling is one-to-one selling through reputation of an individual rather than a business, you can't achieve that on any other social media platform. But social selling isn't just about selling via social media. It's about word of mouth marketing. But if you're looking at it from a social selling within social media perspective, I would argue that it really works best in a B2B setting. If it's outside of a B2B setting, you're really just advertising, and you need to get your customers using word of mouth marketing. And you use that through having good products, good services, good brand, good affiliation. But to answer the question, I would say in the scope here, yes, B2B.
Yeah, totally agree too. You know, whenever you make a sale from an event or you're at an event in person or get asked, can I have your card, please? It's because you got to know them. It's because they liked something about you and therefore trusted you. So,
and skip the business card step and go straight to adding on LinkedIn.
Straight to LinkedIn. Yeah. Okay, next question from Nicole. If I had to focus on just one point to help grow my business, what's most valuable? Playing by the algorithm rules, sharing unique content, automating whatever I can, or getting more connections? Good question.
Sorry, what was the name of
Easy answer.
what was the name of the
Nicole.
lady? Nicole. Thanks, Nicole.
Nicole.
I would say that you need to first focus. So all of those are good points, and they're all things that should be as part of the mix, depending on what your objective is. From a social selling perspective, this works very well as part of a content marketing strategy that encompasses what the business wants to say, but really raising up your employees, your staff, your thought leaders, your leadership team. And so social selling through social media with the likes of LinkedIn as part of a bigger content marketing strategy, you then zoom out from that and you go, okay, well, how do I make the most of that? And all of the things that you just listed off come into play. You can start a social selling strategy just by itself. It can be done. The reason why it works a lot better with an overarching content marketing strategy is because you're actually feeding the people that are involved in the social selling with the content to be passing on. I hope that answers Nicole's question.
Yeah, it's good. I think definitely all of the above. So
Yeah.
you just you can't just do one thing and hope for the best.
No.
You definitely need to do a few, just pick a few out of all the many things you can do and really nail them.
Depending on what the objective is, right?
Exactly. Okay. Next question from Colin. Does what you offer suit all businesses? I think he's talking about our missing link solution.
So missing link really focuses on the individual in business. So if you are a CEO, a founder, a director, a chief marketing officer, a marketing manager, or a team of all of the above, missing link is the ability to implement effectively a content marketing strategy for your digital profile. So the question was, does missing link help anyone? Yes, anyone in business.
Yes, it's definitely person to person is what we're working with here. Cool. Okay, a couple of similar questions here from Peter and Craig. So Peter says, how much time do I need to spend doing this? Does it need to happen daily? And Craig says, how often should you post to get traction? Is there an optimal amount to post?
Yeah, so both questions kind of sit in the same area. So I'll go ahead and try and answer both of them with one answer. How much time do you need to be spending on this? Look, the more time you spend on anything, the better you're going to get at it, right? But I can promise you this, the more time you spend, depending on how green you are to it, the more time you spend up at the forefront, the easier it's going to get. So as I mentioned, plugging in recurring meeting time slots in your calendar, that will not only remind you and force you to do it, but you can actually reduce the amount of time if you start to work smarter in terms of what do you know? What do you know about? And then aligning what you know to what your company's content marketing strategy might be, depending on the size of the organization. So then I hope that answers the first part. And then the second question was, sorry, Sonia, I tried to remember it.
That's all right. The second question was, how often should you post to get traction? Is there an optimal amount to post?
Yeah, so look, I mean, there's a lot of, speculation around how often you should be posting. I try to just stick to, the times at which I know that my audience are more likely to be online. Because if I'm going to post and I'm taking the lens of adding value and education, I want people to see it. So I'm going to take the time to prepare the content that I want to share at a time when I know that the people are going to be more likely to see it. Makes sense, right? Otherwise, why bother? So I refer back to the research times and days to be posting for optimum engagement, which is Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday between 8 a.m., 10 a.m. local time. Stick to that, you should be sweet.
Yeah, cool. I found it actually really fascinating, the fact that the more you post, the less quality reach you get. So that's something to keep in mind. Craig, you don't, I think just spending 5-10 minutes a day is ample, but you have to be really clever in your approach. And there's obviously a wider strategy behind all that. Or we can get us to do it for you. Greg's client of ours. So cool. Actually, that's the majority of the questions. Are all kind of around that same sort of bucket. I'll leave you with something funny though. Vinny the other day said you want to woo them, not screw them. So it's, it's about a relationship, not a one night stand. And I think that's very true.
It's a true story. It's a true story. Want to woo them, not screw them. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks everyone. Look, tech is it's totally consuming, all consuming. We actually live and breathe it and hunt and hawk. Now more than ever, in particular, our whole digital existence is just consumed, monitored, tracked, traced. But what that means is that it's actually really valuable. So thanks very much, for learning about the digital presence and about your reputation behind social strategy. It's been great sharing all this with you. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Shout out,
Vinny, any last words
to Regina. Hey, Regina, good to see you here. Thanks for joining. And yeah, look, thanks again, Sonia, and thanks for the team in the background, running the polls and the chat box. Hey, Nari, nice to see you. If anyone wants to have a chat, you have my contact details. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. Find Sonia as well, and we can have a chat. See if we can't do it for you.
Fantastic. Thanks everyone around the world. We had people from New Zealand and USA today. Really appreciate your time and look forward to chatting more on LinkedIn and beyond.
Thanks, Sonia. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Vinny.
Bye.
Bye.